Amazon isn't the only entity you have to worry about when it comes to increasing your cost to do business. Turns out you have to worry about your own state's legislature too. My name is Noah Wickham. I'm VP of Sales and Marketing here at My Amazon Guy, and let's talk about some of the new changes for Washington state residents. So Amazon Ads recently sent out this. It's a notification to customers with a Washington, U.S. Based business address, that is the state, not Washington, D.C., essentially saying that on May 20th, they came up with a new Senate bill signed by the governor where essentially all sales tax for is going to be included on advertising services. That essentially means that if you are a business that is based inside of Washington state with a Washington state address, you now are going to have to be paying, as of October 1st in this, sales tax on all of your Amazon ads. So this is a huge overreach in my opinion, just from the aspect that it does not actually, and I looked into this bill quite a bit, and we can kind of dig into this, it does not affect anything that is web hosting, it does not affect newspapers, printing, publishing, radio, television, broadcasting, it doesn't include billboards, street furnishing, transit advertising. Basically, it only affects online advertisements. And it does not just affect online advertisements inside the state of Washington. It is only if you yourself are purchasing online advertisements and you live or have your address for your business in the state of Washington. In fact, this is only for online advertisements, and you could be advertising in any state. This is a huge change and a huge overreach. And honestly, I haven't dug into the logistics of what the history is behind why this is happening. But like any governmental change, we all know that they're just kind of in it for your taxes and your money. The two things in life that are never going to change: death and taxes. So with that, how would I approach this situation? If I were a seller right now, and I am based in the state of Washington, what would I do? Well, a couple of things. First and foremost, absolutely, I'm sending a letter to my governor. This is ridiculous. I'm also going to send a letter to the head of the Federal Bureau, just because this is also still very ridiculous. It's one of those situations where I am a full believer in states' rights. I believe states' rights come first, but federal overreach sometimes should take place and precedent. And this is a crazy one. I'm actually very surprised something like this could even pass in the state of Washington, knowing the fact that Amazon is headquarters in Seattle, Washington. So it's like, looking at that, you would think that Amazon would put some money behind this to try and lobby and say, hey, I don't want to do this. But I'm guessing that's a large part of where this came from anyway. So let's say that I was stuck in this situation, like many of you maybe are, where you are probably based inside Washington, and you're wondering, hey, what do I do? How do I get around this? Well, a couple of different ways that I would probably look at getting around this. The first and foremost one is that I would look at getting a virtual address. You can get virtual addresses pretty much anywhere. I live in Grand Rapids, so all of these are going to be showing me for Grand Rapids, right? But, let's say I want to get one in virtual address for Delaware. Delaware is a great state to get an LLC in. So if you're looking at it, you could get yourself a little Delaware virtual address and change your Amazon address to this one. You could also look at potentially getting a new LLC set up. So Delaware LLC online, you could do that very quickly. It takes you about 20 minutes to get yourself a little Delaware LLC set up. And you could even get yourself somebody who is a just registered person who is acting on behalf of your business inside of Delaware. Isn't that wonderful? It's crazy, the world that we live in as sellers nowadays and whatnot. And you're probably thinking, okay, so I change over my virtual address, I change over my LLC to another state so that I can try and avoid this new state sales tax. What then? What am I going to do then? How do I even do that on Amazon? Well, thankfully, I will link this video down below in the description, but they have this, I put this video out couple of months ago where it's essentially talking about buying a business and how to change the legal entity. But this essentially tells you how to change your legal entity on Amazon. So if you are somebody who happens to be stuck in this kind of situation, I'm not saying you should try and avoid the tax that is coming for you, but at the end of the day, this is something that I definitely would be looking into as to how to solve this. Now, at the end of the day, something to really think about here is that this is currently happening for Washington State. My fear is that this is going to set precedents for it happening everywhere. If it turns out to be a successful measure, many times we have seen in history where certain states will decide to go ahead and say, hey, I am going to implement this new type of tax or this new type of system. And they basically are becoming the trial state for it. And all of a sudden, within a couple of years, more and more states start popping up who basically take that same exact system and replicate it with inside their state. That is my personal fear for this situation, in the sense that if, and this is a big if, I suppose, this continues going on and this doesn't just immediately backfire in Washington state, which I again think it will, just from the aspect of, looking into it. I can't imagine this is a situation that is going to stay, right? I can't imagine it's a situation that's going to stay. But if it does, I think a lot of states are going to end up trying to take this and use it as, grounds for implementation. I worry about that. And that's where, again, I think states' rights are fantastic. And I do think that overall, it's one of those that a lot of times I would like to see the feds have some overreach in certain areas such as this, especially when it comes down to essentially business owners, right? It's one of those very hard things that all this really does, in my opinion, is do exactly what I just told you to do, and that's move out of the state as a business owner, which doesn't just take the sales tax from, your overall sales as far as advertising or any advertising spend. It takes your sales tax, or it takes all of the taxes with you, right? Sure, you're going to have to pay some personal income tax if you're still living there, and that's going to be, tried and true. Sure, whatever. But from a full business scope and everything, you're just moving businesses. You're hurting businesses and you're moving them out of the state in general. I haven't actually looked into to see how many, and I guess I could look into that, how many Amazon sellers there are in Washington state, but I would garner that there is a fair amount of them at the end of the day, probably closer to at least 50 to 100,000. And so that's one of those areas, especially knowing the Amazon's there. This just seems like a overreach, in my opinion. I haven't seen, again, the history behind it, but overall, I would love to see that this change. I don't want to see this become the status quo. It is already hard enough to be an Amazon seller at the end of the day. Advertising on Amazon has gotten exponentially more expensive in recent years. And so to take that and then say, hey, we're going to add another fee, which is a tax on top of whatever you are spending on that, is ludicrous. And it just creates an anti-competitive environment, especially knowing that things like Chinese sellers are just popping up every single day and raising that overall ad cost and cost per click. If I am a seller with inside Washington state, I am immediately seeing something like this, and I'm like, nah, not even worth it. It's not even worth my time. Just from the simple aspect that this is going to drastically hurt my bottom line when it comes to being competitive against others, especially if I'm a new seller. There is next to no incentive now to really even try and start if I'm a new seller within inside Washington, just because why would I? I instantly am starting basically with one of my hands tied behind my back, and that is never a good feeling, especially as trying to be a business owner. So having been a seller, a business owner in general, I think that I'm just not a big fan of this. I know that this is probably not targeting Amazon sellers. I understand the aspect that this was not crafted in the mentality of like, oh, this is to try and get Amazon sellers. No, this is probably crafted for pretty much every other business inside Washington. Every single massage parlor, every single ice cream shop that there is, this is probably what that is for. Now, that does not say that it doesn't hurt Amazon sellers especially hard, because it really does in a situation like this where essentially advertising is your lifeblood at this point in time on Amazon. So I would love to see some kind of regulation around this. I really hope this doesn't become the status quo across other states. I don't expect it to. But again, if you are stuck in this situation, I'll leave a couple little handy links down below. I'll leave a link to that video down below in the description as well. Go check that out. If you don't know how to change your LLC on Amazon, your address, that video will help you a ton. And stay tuned for more updates, including ones like this.